I want to invite every one of you to please right now grab a piece of paper and a pen. You're going to be given some incredible insight and some announcements towards the end of this call. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an incredible time to be with Valentus. Valentus is a company now is just under 3 years young. The company is debt-free, and the company, quite frankly, has gotten the attention and the excitement of a growing community, not just within the network marketing direct sales industry, but truly in the global economic and commerce stage. You know, our CEO, Dave Jordan, has been an incredible business magnet. I would say he is an iconic figure both within the traditional business arena as well as the direct selling network marketing industry. He's a radio personality. He's had a talk show nationally syndicated. He has been featured in multiple magazines. He truly is a tremendous businessman. And as much as he is a tremendous businessman, he more so is just a tremendous person. For those of you who've had the opportunity to hear him speak, you know that he tells it the way it is. But for those people who've had the rare opportunity to meet him in person, to engage, to shake his hand, to give him a hug, him and his wife Joyce, to actually feel the love, to understand that he wears his emotions on his sleeve, he tells it the way it is, and that when you see it, you understand that you are really a part of something ultimately rare. This is rare air. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor at this time to bring on our CEO and our visionary, Mr. Dave Jordan. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Ted, great. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me through the phone here loud and clear?
I can hear you great, sir. The call is yours.
Okay, Ted. Well, welcome everybody to our Saturday trading call. Once again, my name is Dave Jordan, the founder and CEO of Valentus. And welcome from around the world. I know we have meetings going on in Edmonton and Toronto and Los Angeles. As we speak on this call, I want to thank all those leaders that are doing live meetings right now and supporting the fields around the world. I just know myself, being from around the world, I know I just had an incredible week here 2 weeks ago. I was invited to the presidential inaugural in Washington, D.C., was invited to the president's ball, was invited to the celebration party, the parade, the whole shebang, and there was only 1,000 tickets to that event. And I was just so fortunate to have connections and friends that got me an invite to that incredible event. It's just like Ted said in the beginning of the call here, some of the relationships you build can have a huge impact on where we're going and what we're doing. I also met some incredible people, new friends at that event, and believe me, what came out of that Washington, D.C. event for myself, for business, for our future, there was so many positives. I won't get into them today, but we're going to talk about them at a later date. But what a great year we've had with 2016. 2016 was incredible. And we just closed a huge month again with January. I mean, Valentus is growing, and all you got to do is go look at the leaderboards. That shows everything every month. We have the top 200 people on our leaderboard every month. For the month of January, we had 143 being the high guy, and the low person had 4. But our numbers had 989 people, almost 1,000 people enrolled somebody in January, either customers or distributors, into Valentus. I'll tell you, the leaderboard was always something that I admired as a builder. I built network marketing in the past too. Back when I was a networker, I always looked at the leaderboard and said to myself, if I can get on that leaderboard, if I can be with the leaders, and most of them never had 200, we had to put 200 because the field, Corey Johnson and Chris Lamont and Peggy DeSalle and Paul Moore, they're saying, Dave, we have to have more than 25 top leaders. Nobody could get 50 people in. Nobody could get 25 people in. So we did it at 100, and then it wound up being at 10. So then we went to 200, and we're still at 4 at the bottom. So it's pretty incredible. One thing about me with the leaderboard, I always had limited time because I ran a huge sports business when I was a networker. But I always found a way to work smarter, not harder. And for those of you who don't know my story, Ted Wilson kind of jumped on me and said, Dave, you got to tell your story. You got to tell your story so the new people can feel where we're at, where we're going, and how we're getting there, and they need to know who we're talking to. So I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet, but I'll tell you what, guys, my story starts out like this. I grew up in Chicago with 13 brothers and sisters. I got 14 brothers and sisters, or 14 total, actually 14 with my second oldest sister Diane when she was really little. But I couldn't read or write. I was in 7th grade for 3 years, and I couldn't read or write. I was dyslexic like John Aremza, and I begged my mom to let me quit school when I finally got to be 16 years old. And I told her if she didn't let me quit, I was going to run away, and she finally let me quit school, and I'll never forget that day. The reason I'll never forget that day is because my gym teacher at the school called me a loser as I was walking out of that school with my mom back in 1983. I was 16 years old, and that gym teacher called me a loser. Well, you know what? I was ready to take on the world. I'm not a quitter, but that was something that I just didn't fit with, and I just had bigger dreams in school, and I just went after them, and I went on to take on the world when I walked out of that school. And I started doing sports shows around the country at 16 years old, doing Bismarck, North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota, having my buddy drive me down there to do a show. And then at 18 years old, I opened up my first store. And today, that business, you know, over the years, I purchased, 25 to 30 to 50 stores and, learning the internet, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But today, that business is valued at between $40 and $50 million in net worth value, and there's no debt on it. I own nothing on it. It's all mine. I own it. And I was always full-time at that. I was always full-time, and I built a huge reputation with the promoters, with the athletes that were on the sports cards, and powerful people around the world and around the country through the love of sports. And that's one of the reasons why I found myself down in Washington, D.C., rubbing shoulders with Bobby Knight and great leaders of our country. And I just will never forget, when that happened, what was going on. But I'll also never forget the day that I was introduced to network marketing. A friend of mine, a customer of one of my sports stores, walked into one of my shops, and he said, "Dave, I got to show you something," and I wouldn't give him the time of day. Well, I told him, okay, well, come back at 6 o'clock. Entertainment tonight's on. I'll shut the TV off, and you can come in here, and I'll give you a half hour to show me what you had to show me. Well, when he showed me it, I was not interested in shampoo. I wasn't interested in toothpaste. I wasn't interested in doing that because I loved what I was doing. But he showed me the power of 5. 5 people, 7 levels deep. 5, he says, "Dave, all you got to do is get 5 of your friends to go out and talk to 5 of their friends," and so on. And the next thing you know, at 26 years old, I'm looking at this program, and I said, wow, I could get 5 people, and 5, 25, 125, 625, 3125, 15,000, 625, 72,000, 125. It turned into a powerful deal. And I was sold on the industry because of the power of 5. So I joined. I got in that company, and I invited 40 of my friends to my hobby shop, customers of mine, to a hotel called the Westward Ho back in 1994. And that night, out of the 40, 25 of them signed up with the Big Pack. I was sold right there on network marketing. I was driving a brand new free car 12 months later, and I was only working the business 5 hours a week maximum because my hobby shops were full-fledged, my first love. I was actually one of the highest-ranked senior directors in that company, but at this orientation we went to for rewards, we were ranked number 1 orientation, 18 personally enrolled directors at this event, and we only needed 4. We actually had 14 more directors than we needed to be at that rank. And Joyce and I, out of hundreds of people, were sitting in the first seat up front at this orientation when one of the regional directors that were doing the event talked about the road to executive director, the next level. And he said, all you need to do is bring in 10 personally enrolled directors and have the volume. And then he made a joke to the crowd, and he said, unless you're Dave Jordan, this guy's got 18 directors, and he only needs the volume. He said he's a flippin' freak of nature. Well, anyway, that night at this big fireworks party, it was around the 4th of July, people came up to me and said, wow, Dave, how do you and Joyce put 18 personal directors in a company that fast? And to be honest with you, I was honest with them. And I said, hey, guys, I run a big sports store in North Dakota. I mean, I only put 5 hours a week into this maximum. I do shows weekly and do twice monthly, and that's what's turned this business into what it is. And the next thing you know, the company flipped out on me, came to me and said, Dave, you come here as the top guy, and then you sit there and say you're not working it. I said, well, no, I just told them the truth. Well, they said, Dave, you got a choice. You can either keep your stores or you can do this business and be the top guy here. Well, I didn't take him serious. And I didn't take him serious, and on July 25th, 1997, at 28 years old, on my wedding day, I was terminated from that company. My biggest check in that company was $14,000 for 1 month, and that was a lot of money for a 28-year-old guy with my girlfriend Joyce at the time, to get taken away. And I walked away from the industry, and I was devastated, and I went back to my happy place, my sports. I drowned it in my sorrows for years. Well, anyway, years went by, and in 1999, I got a call by a guy named Corey Johnson. And he was a referral from one of my best friends who was in my wedding, Tim Johnson, a guy that lived here in Fargo, North Dakota. I told Corey many times as he kept calling me, I wasn't interested. I was done with the industry. Well, Corey kept calling me about every 3 to 4 or 5 days, and he was just so persistent. And he said, I'm going to send you some products. I'm going to send you some stuff. I want to show you what we're doing. And because of his persistency, I gave network marketing another chance because he was so persistent. He was a bulldog. He came right at me and just was so persistent. Well, I joined with him, and we built a prepaid gasoline company with one of my buddies that had a postcard system. We put over 72,000 people in that business in less than 24 months, only to have the owner of that company, an idiot, run it out of business because he was stupid. He knew how to run a restaurant, but he didn't know how to run a company. And I walked away again, and I just was fed up. I was just done with the industry. Second time around, I said, that's enough. I'm done. To have it twice and have it taken away, it was over. Well, the one thing about me, my family's always been important to me. And in 2001, my father died of throat cancer. And basically, before he died, he was writing on paper because he got his voice box taken out, if I could find him a cure for what he had. And we tried, everything. I was calling buddies of mine. I called Corey Johnson. I called all kinds of people that had connections through products in the industry and different things. And, anyway, my father passed away. He died on his birthday. And one thing about my dad, he was the hardest worker I ever met. I mean, my dad raised all of us working 3 jobs. He was a police officer in South Chicago. And I was so blessed to have my father's work ethic. I believe I got my dad's work ethic. And if you ever want to really know how I feel about my dad, a lot of my really, really close friends know this. And I told this to Don Carson last time I was with him. I said, Don, if you want to know how great my dad was, listen to a song by Dan Fogelberg called Leader of the Band. Dan Fogelberg wrote that about his father. But I listened to the words of that song, and it reminds me of my father. Because my father, he worked for me before he died. He worked for me 3 years before he died. And his leadership and respect he always showed me, something that led to this today, something that led to us being on this call today. Because at that point, I couldn't read, I couldn't write. And then in 2003, through my friend Barry Brandvold, I was introduced to a company called eBay. And I said, wow, pretty cool, but I couldn't write, I couldn't read, and I was typing things wrong. And the next thing you know, I had people calling me saying, man, you got beautiful stuff, but you don't know what you're doing. And I just learned it through trial and error. I probably lost thousands of dollars making mistakes, but I learned it through trial and error. And then the next thing you know, in 2005, I'm running 16,000 auctions on this incredible, website, and people are buying stuff. And I get a call again from my good friend Corey Johnson. And Corey Johnson says, hey, Dave, remember when we were looking for a product for your father? Well, I believe we found it. And I said to Corey, I know, and my dad's gone. He says, I know, but I just believe that this is something that maybe your father could have helped him. And he showed me this patent, and he showed me this website. And I looked at it, and I only got involved with that company because of my father. So I joined Corey again, and I thought it was a sign from my dad to give network marketing one more chance. I was working my eBay business in my sports stores 90 hours a week. Keep in mind, guys, 90 hours a week. The only guy I know in this company, there's a couple of them that work 90 hours a week. I know Chris Lamont does, and I know Ted Wilson probably works 100 hours a week, but these guys know what it takes to go to the top working with work ethic. You might not be the best at what you do, but you can outwork the best at what you do. And that's what those guys are. But I was just like that. And I was working 90 hours a week on my eBay business, but I joined this company with Corey. Soon, I built a business that was working 90 hours an hour. 90 hours an hour. I had 5,400 hours on average. We were figuring this out, working for my company an hour. And it was being built by a team through systems, through friendships, through unbelievable people. I made triple diamond in that company very fast, and I enrolled personally 4 diamonds, 6 emeralds, and 27 rubies into that program. Keep in mind, to be a ruby in that program, you had to have 5,000 personal volume. So it wasn't like our ruby here. We took all the back doors out so we don't take your check. I also enrolled 10 to 20 of the best networkers in the country into that program, Ted Wilson being one of them. Ted was there for 3 weeks, and he said, Dave, the culture here can't make happen what I need to have happen. The guy's an idiot. I'm out of here. Ted walked away, and I didn't see it yet. Yes, that's right. Ted walked away. I didn't see it yet. But I'll never forget the day I saw it. I was in Atlantis in 2007, and the VP of operations comes up to me and told me that he was terminating one of my diamonds for selling insurance. I said, what? He says, yeah, he's done. He's out there bad-mouthing us. And he wasn't. Well, I had flashbacks of me back when I was 28 years old. And guess what? He was 28 years old. I was actually sitting 2007 at the Chicago Cubs playoffs with my little brother, Joey, and he called me crying and upset that the company was supposed to work it out with him, and they didn't, and they took his check. Well, from that day on, the Cubs lost, and they were out of the playoffs, and from that day on, I was done with that company. I walked away from a $50,000 potential month. I would have been at $100,000 quick, and I told the company to shove it. I gave network marketing one more chance in 2013. And I only gave that chance because Corey Johnson walked away with that company later, too. And Corey put me in that company with him, and we were getting ready to knock it out of the park. And I put 60 people into that deal in 40 days at $500. And the owner of that company called me up, and he said, wow, how does a person enroll 60 friends in 40 days with the big pack? And I said, I don't know. I haven't enrolled any of my friends yet. And from that call on, I was done. I didn't quit the company right then and there, but I was done. But about 2 weeks later, I got the call. My very, very wealthy buddy called me up, and he said, hey, Dave, what's this crap you're doing in another company? I thought it was 3 strikes and you're out. And I said, well, you know what? I walked away from the last one. He says, no. It's time you start your own company and show this industry with who you got behind you, who you got around you, me having your back, and the people you can surround yourself with, and show the industry how to do it right. And I thought about it for a couple weeks, and I called Corey. I told Corey I was leaving, and Corey couldn't believe it. Then I showed Corey my business plan, and the next thing Corey said, I'm all in. I'm all in. Can you take me with you? I want to be with you here. I'll tell you what, putting that company together wasn't easy. I went to some of the best consultants in the industry, working with friends like Corey, Ted Wilson, top business professionals. Even John Aremza, who was making $100,000 with another company behind the scenes, talking to him about a position, about what he's going to do here, about there. Me and John weren't always on the up and up together. Me and John were very bitter at a couple times because the company really hurt a few of my people, and John fought for me, but he couldn't get the company to hear it. Well, anyway, we had the makings of a great company, and Valentus launched in 2014 in July. But to make that happen, I also had to close all of my sports stuff. And this is something I've done since I was 16 years old. And I stopped everything, 16,000 auctions. eBay called me up and they said, is there something wrong with your code? Is there something wrong with your listings? I said, no, I shut them all down. And they tried everything to say, Dave, we want to get you back here. We want to no, I'm done. I don't want to do it no more. I had to put 1,000% focus on the infrastructure of this company to make it happen. And for the first time in my life, I was full-time in network marketing, and I loved every minute of it. Our first year in business, it was very hard, and we were putting it all together, and the company did just over $350K for 2014. 2015, we did just over $2.9 million, but in 2016, we did a couple things, we did a couple changes, we had a couple things happen, and the company did $32+ million, almost 1,000% growth for the first 3 years of business. We were on pace in 2015, and it triggered right into 16. So now I'll say this, we are going to do between 60 and 80 million with Valentus in 2017. I'll tell you what, the most beautiful thing about that in 2016 was not the 32 million, was not all the MLM companies on the internet ranking us in the top 5 and saying we're fastest growing and saying this and saying that, and people calling me this and people calling me that and saying this guy knows what he's doing, this guy will get it done. It's not that. It's to watch the lives that change, the real people, the lifestyles, the financial freedom. To look at Teresa Finley, when I first met her, and she's a hairdresser, and now she's making 6 figures in Valentus and can go do what she wants. She sold her shop, and she's full-time. I'll never forget Barry Hughes, a guy that got on the phone with me, and he was very stern, and he said, Dave, I ain't got any time to screw around. I mean, I have to make this work in the next 90 days. Well, guys, Ted put me on the phone with Barry, and today, Barry's one of our top 10 earners, maybe top 5 earners. I haven't looked at the data. And then we got John Aremza, who walked away from a huge income to join Valentus because of our culture. Because when me and John had dinner, when we had a falling out in that other company, I looked John in the eye, and I said, John, someday I'm going to do my own company, and I'm going to show you guys and your owners how to do it right. And I came right at him, and I told him. And yes, who could forget about Corey Johnson in Palm Springs? I get choked up when he calls me his angel. I'll tell you what, he had a couple tough times, made a couple tough decisions. Today, he's the number 2 earner in Valentus, man. He's the number 2 earner in this company, and to just look at where he's going to be in the next 2 years and 3 years, it's unbelievable. These are great stories of great people. And what was the difference? They believed in Valentus. They believed in the message. Like Ted Wilson always says, no matter what, Dave, we're all in. You know, Ted looks at me one day and he said, Dave, no matter what happens, we're all in. You know, I say to myself, has it been smooth? No, it hasn't been smooth. But now it's been a little bit better with things as we go forward, and we got a lot of great connections and a lot of positive things. But has it been worth it? 1,000% yes. You know, next week, Joyce and I will be with all the triple diamonds and above in the beautiful Cove in Atlantis in the Bahamas. I mean, I remember in our last company with Corey and John, I remember earning that trip 3 times. Earning that trip 3 times because my wife loved the Atlantis Resort in the Cove. And I said, I made it one of my lives. I made that trip every year I was in that company until the year I told them to buzz off and screw off. And I told them I was done, you know. And I'll tell you right now, we have made that trip a peg point for this company. Yes, we'll be going back again next year. So you need to make it a goal on this call to be one of the people going with Joyce and I next year. We have made this trip a leadership goal to reach triple diamond or above, and guess what? You're all in. We have 15 winners going with us on this exciting trip, and believe me, it's not a cheap trip. Valentus has paid top-notch, top-quality, room, everything, room service, the whole shabam for this trip. And the 15 winners are going to have an absolute ball. I'm telling you guys, Valentus then, after this trip, will be rolling into our national convention in Toronto on March 29th. I'll tell you what, guys, we are going to have some exciting announcements at that event and some unbelievable speakers. We are right now, I'm going to tell you this straight out, and I'm not going to give away any of the thunder, we are right now going to be making at least 10 major announcements at the Toronto event that nobody's going to know about until that day at the event. And every single one of them is a positive. I promise everybody out there, it's a positive, not a negative. I'll tell you guys, from products to tools to corporate to other goodies that we're going to be sharing at this event. If you're not at this event, I'm telling you, time is running out. We're also going to be giving away, somebody at that event is going to win a brand new Cadillac. But you must be in attendance to win that Cadillac. I'm telling you, we have speakers lined up. I told Ted, I told Corey, I told Peggy, I said, we got to outdo our first 3 events. Vancouver, Kelowna, Palm Springs. Somehow, some way, we got to outdo those events. And those were great events. But I'll tell you what, guys, we are going to outdo that event. I already could tell you almost 1,000 people registered, maybe over 1,000, because that was checked last week. Over 1,000 people have registered. Hotel, the main hotel is now sold out at 95%. You might not even be able to get all your consecutive hotel nights there now. So if you're not registered, make sure you get online, register, and we also put a deal on there for people that can't get online and register, where you can buy a couple extra registrations. You're allowed 5 to buy an extra registration. But we're well over 1,000 now, and I'll tell you what, guys, this is going to be the top event of Valentus to date. Palm Springs was huge. Vancouver was an event that was renowned, and Kelowna and Red Deer, I believe those were launch pads that just totally blew this company out of the water. But I'm telling you right now, the early bird $99 is going to be extended for just a little bit more. I know there was people in January that said, well, what if somebody joins in February and they want to go to the convention, they want to go to the Toronto event? Well, we're going to extend the 99 just a bit more. So if you're not registered, go on there and register. Guys, what I want to do now is I want to go back to the guy who was on the phone here in the beginning, because I was in Vancouver with him, and one of the guys behind the wall was making a mistake with some wiring hookups and this and that, and this guy took charge. He came in and he said, no, this is how you do it, da-da-da. And I found out that this guy only wants what's best for Valentus. He only wants what's best for you guys, and not everybody is on his team, but he's on the Valentus team. So Blue Diamond, Ted Wilson, will you come back just for a minute and just share a few words of the Toronto secret and what we're doing here and how we're moving forward and some of the incredible things that we're going to be talking about here in the near future without giving them away?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dave. It's just awesome. It's just nice to hear the energy from around North America. We have people listening in across the pond. Good evening to those in the UK, Ireland, Scotland. We've got people, of course, in Puerto Rico, down in Mexico. It's just so exciting. We even have people in from Australia, if you can imagine. To what Barry Hughes, Blue Diamond, was saying, that the events really help to crystallize belief. Belief in your brand, belief in your company leaders, belief in your products, belief in the culture. And I think Valentus has done such an exceptional job at not permitting bravado, not permitting narcissism, not permitting the big man on campus syndrome. I like the fact that, respectfully speaking, Dave, that there is no personalities that overtake or overwhelm people here. This isn't the usual direct selling model where there has to be some messiah that has all the answers. This is a simple lifestyle plan. It's love, quite frankly, set in motion. It comes from you and Joyce. It comes from your philosophy, your vision that you wanted to make the industry great again. It comes from the very design of the compensation plan, the one-time lifetime membership fee of only $20. The fact that we don't have a forced auto ship, but an optional loyalty purchase program with benefits. The fact that our company's compensation model doesn't require structure, doesn't require 4 left and 4 right, or one person rolled star left, one person rolled star right. We don't have any, pardon the expression, gun to your head or the proverbial carrot of one person, one person once actually did this, I guess around about what I'm trying to say to you, Dave, and for all the listeners today, and congratulations for a record call. This is going to be one of the main calls in our archives that we're going to look back as a major tool to provide reference validation that this is special and unique. Toronto, in just under 7 weeks, is literally going to be history in the making. To what you said earlier, Dave, 10 major announcements. All of the diamonds have all signed a non-disclosure agreement. They all have a glimpse of what the Toronto secret really means. And this is not sensationalism. This isn't marketing 101. This is fact. In my 28 years, Corey Johnson's 28 years, John Harem's 28 years, most of your leaders of this company who've actually had decades of experience in this industry, I know without a shadow of a doubt, we're all saying the same thing. Never, ever have we been in such a privileged position to experience what it is that's about to be unveiled in 7 weeks. The convention with 1,000+ people in attendance, the rare history, the indelible moment of time, the fact that you'll never, ever be able to replicate the message of the energy, the certainty, the conviction, the belief, the resounding, grounding effect of being there in person to experience it. You'll never, ever be able to get that back to people, for those people that are on the fence that say, you know what, I'm going to pass. I can't afford it. I can't invest in my business. I don't have the means. I don't have the time. Respectfully, those are all excuses. If you're truly committed to this and you want to make your year, this year 17, to be your breakout year, you need to do whatever you have to do. Planes, trains, and automobiles, borrow the time. ask for favors, do what you got to do, because Toronto is literally going to it's a cause set in motion. From major product announcements to major corporate announcements to major market announcements to major connections. And so, Dave, I just have to say to you, thank you. Thank you so much for being authentically you. I'm proud of the fact that you don't have an Ivy League education. I'm proud of the fact that you keep it real. I'm proud of the fact that you have got grit, that you've got cojones, that you've got the ability to make tough decisions when the family is affected. Having the desire and the belief that this company will be here 20 years from now. I'm all in. Thank you, Dave.
Well, Ted, I appreciate you. And guys, just so you know, Ted does a lot for Valentus. And I'll tell you, it's just thank you for having you here. Ladies and gentlemen, all I can say, you're at the right place at the right time. I wish all of you on this call could be with Joyce and I next week in Paradise Island. But I'll tell you what, you could be there next year, same place, same time. I made this trip 3 times before in my other company as a distributor, working 90 hours a week with my other job. This was my why. I wanted this trip because Joyce loved going there. Get yourself, let me make this up. Okay, say this. Let's say this. Get yourself to set a goal and inspire yourself to take your team to the next level. It starts by attending our national convention in Toronto, but here's what I want you to do. Wake up Monday morning and set a goal. Think about it for 36 hours. Write it down, watch the Super Bowl, watch the commercials, and make your commercial. In your mind, replay it over and over again. If you want to know what Dave Jordan's big secret to network marketing is, I'm repetitious like my little sister Annie, who's got Down syndrome. But I'll tell you what, Monday morning, set out and make that goal real. Make the goal Paradise Island in the Bahamas. Because if you make the goal Paradise Island, you're going to be in paradise for being a triple diamond. I hope today I've helped you find your why or purpose to get the diamond and beyond. I mean, I've never had time to do network marketing. But listen to this. I built 3 major network businesses because I wanted it, because I loved it, because I lost trust in it. I finally understood it. And that is why Valentus was born, for all of you not to go through the troubles I talked about at the beginning of this call. And Joyce and I went through hell with some of these owners and some of these greedy people. And that's why we started Valentus, for you. Like I say to people, like Chris Lamont said earlier, just give me one chance, because I don't need 2. And, Chris listened to me, and Chris took that to heart and built a triple diamond business today. Soon he's going to be a blue diamond. And when I went to Ted Wilson when we launched the company, and Ted said, Dave, I'll take a spot, but I can't work the deal because I'm in a non-compete. And then Ted calls me in January of 2015, and I said, Ted, screw those rip-offs. Join us with this company. I'll show you love. I'll give you love here. I know you give me love, I'll give it back. And today, Ted's our #1 earner in the company because he shares that love with everybody. I tell you what, I want to talk about my good friend Dan Wilson for a second. Dan Wilson is probably one of the most incredible network marketers I know in network marketing. And when we launched the company in July of 2014, Dan was 5 or 6 levels from the top of the company, and tragedy struck him when we first launched the company. And I told Dan, I said, Valentus is here when you're ready. Family's always first, Paul Moore, with this company. You know that. Now, 2 years later, Dan Wilson's ready to go. He will be one of the big hitters of Valentus because now he's ready and his family's okay. I'll tell you what, guys. He's always been a loyal distributor. He's always been here since Valentus started. But the one thing that I looked at with Dan is that he walked away for his family, and that's what's right. John Aremza built a multi-million-dollar business only to feel no love and no happiness and go to a convention and the company made him feel bad. I told him what I told Chris Lamont. I said, John, all I need is one chance. I don't need 2. Give me one chance. Well, today John's happy. He loves listening to me sing. He loves listening to me dance. He loves listening to me joke around. He's having fun again. And he's moving real fast up the charts. I'll tell you what, guys, and last but not least, Corey and Renee Johnson. I've worked with Corey the most in this company, and I've worked with Corey the most in the past as we launched the company. And I told Corey when he came to me and when I quit his other deal, I said, Corey, you need to come over here with what we're doing, and you got to quit dealing with all these promising rip-offs. That's what I call them, promising rip-offs. Today, Corey and Renee are the number 2 earners in Valentus, and they have the how do you say it? They have the superest, brightest future that you could ever have in a business that's exploding. Guys, I hope a few of these tidbits I told you today can help you find your goal. Ted Wilson told me, last night, he said, Dave, you need to get on this phone and you need to tell your story. And all I can say is, I tried to deliver it the best I could. I'm glad I didn't go off on some other track or go there, because when I speak from the heart, it's tough. But I'll tell you what, guys, have the rest of a great Saturday. Take the Paradise Challenge on Monday. Believe me, guys, think about it, own up to it, and make it happen. Everybody, have a good afternoon. I'm going live on a couple meetings now around the country. And, guys, I just totally appreciate you from Joyce and I. We love every single one of you on this call. And, Ted, I'm glad you talked me into doing this Saturday call. Have a great day, everybody.